Well, I'm a person who always thinks that the glass is half full. This one is still half full. So I'm always trying to look for positives in every situation. So I could say that speaking after Jeff Sutherland is kind of a challenging thing to do, but I prefer to think that I will always be able to say that Jeff Sutherland did a pretty damn good opening act for my talk now. And similarly to music concerts, music festivals where bands are playing one after the other, playing different kinds of music, my presentation is gonna be very different from Jeff's. So if Jeff is pop music, my presentation is gonna be like alternative rock, say. Because I'm going to talk about teams, about building teams, growing teams. I want to. Every time I'm at an Agile event, there is always something about teams. You definitely hear about 7 plus or minus 2 people, self-organization, cross-functional teams, etc., etc., etc. That's for sure. Except the problem is that it's typically all you would hear, and there is so much more than that in terms of building teams. And if we don't pay attention to that, we would likely end up doing it wrong. And this is what this presentation is going to be about. So let me start with introducing myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paweł. I lead Lunar Logic. Lunar Logic is a Ruby on Rails software shop in Krakow, and it's going to be the best place to work at in Krakow, or so says the plan. I also write a blog called Software Project Management, and if you look for sources like on Agile, Lean, Kanban, you will find a lot of such stuff there. So I invite you to visit the blog, but also stuff like I'm going to talk about today. And I'm not going to talk about today about Kanban. I'm not going to talk today about Kanban. And my Twitter handle is Paweł Brodziński, and I really do appreciate any feedback you may leave for me on Twitter or in any other medium as well. For those of you who know me, you especially know me speaking. You probably know me speaking about process improvement, understanding work, organizing work. Yeah, I'm a Kanban guy, right? So if we are looking from a perspective of teamwork, I would typically focus on the work part of teamwork. Not today, though. Today, I'm going to focus on the team part of teamwork. So let me start with a question. How do you think, what makes a person the best candidate to work in your team? So what traits or skills a person should have to be kind of perfect candidate to join your team? Technical skills, maybe? Who is for technical skills? Who would like people who are joining teams to be extremely skilled in terms of technical knowledge? Just only a few of you? Okay, so let's try that. Everyone who isn't asleep, raise your hand. Awesome. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up, please. If you would like a candidate joining your team to be a very skilled developer. Okay, half of you. Who would go for craftsmanship? Who would like a candidate to have the sense of quality, this pride in building something high quality? Who would like, wow, more of you, almost all of you. Communication skills. Who would like a candidate to be able, thank you, to be able to express themselves, like ideas, thoughts? How about learning? Persistent learning. Great. We'll come to that. What else? What do you think that the ideal candidate should have to join your team? Like, what are the ideas? Motivation. Responsibility, empathy. Can you repeat? Teamworker, okay. So basically, there are some better and worse answers here. But basically, what we are talking here is kind of software developer superhero. Someone who is at least well skilled in terms of technical skills, like programming languages and stuff. But this is someone who, who is very, very intelligent, smart person. So someone who, when we were thinking about such a person, we were thinking about someone who would be able to achieve a lot by himself. Maybe help a team as well, like we've heard teamwork. But basically, software developer superhero. And this is kind of a picture I have anytime I'm talking to different organizations about hiring process. Okay? So I tried to boil down the software developer superhero to a single trait, single skill. And I came up with intelligence. So this is Merriam-Webster definition of intelligence. So we have a lot of stuff that we've mentioned here. Ability to learn, understand the situation, reasoning, skills, applying knowledge to modify situation around, analytic skills, okay? So if we are talking about people who we would like to join our teams, we are talking about very intelligent people, okay? Something's broken. So let me run an experiment with you. Let's split a room to 2 groups. Everyone from here to the right will be in Team A. Team A gets a cool name, which is Team A. So everyone from this line to the right is in Team A. Everyone from this line to the left will be in Team B. Okay? Everyone in this row, you can choose team, whichever you prefer. Team A has a cooler name. But there is a caveat to that. So for both teams, you will have a task, a very simple task. You will read a few sentences, read them silently, and then after that I will ask you a couple of questions regarding those sentences. Team A, you seem to be a very responsible bunch. So I have an additional task for you. I need you to remember this number. Don't write it down, please. Just keep it in your head. It is extremely important that you don't forget this number. It's only 6 digits. Okay? Ready? So let's go. Thank you. Team A, the number. Okay, you can forget it. You won't need it anymore. Now, the question for all of you. You've read 6 sentences. Some of them might make sense, some of them might not. So my question is, how do you think whether at least 3 of them made sense, were reasonable, were not totally nonsense? Who thinks that at least 3 of those sentences made sense? Very few people. 2 of them made sense. 2 of them were, okay, at least 1 of them made sense. Who thinks that none of those made sense? All of them were ridiculous. Keep your hands up, please keep your hands up. Okay, look through the room. It seems that, well, obviously none of them made sense. Like, how do you think, like, do fish eat candy? Not really. Or did we have cars in 17th century? No. So what I've just proven is that more people in a team A thinks that some of those sentences made sense. So basically, I've just proven that team A is less intelligent than team B. Sorry, team A. Well, actually, no. Actually, I've just proven that making you remembering a number, such a simple thing, may dim your intelligence, may kind of change the way you perceive the world around. So I've just proven how fragile our intelligence is. Something we base on when we are thinking about building teams, when we are thinking about hiring people, is a very fragile trait. So let me introduce another concept, which is collective intelligence. So the same way we can measure individual intelligence, the pattern is basically simple. So we get an individual, we give them a set of complex tasks to solve, and the better they solve it, the faster they solve it, the more intelligent they are. I know I'm simplifying here, but basically the pattern, no matter which method we are talking about, the pattern is exactly the same. So we can use the same pattern to measure collective intelligence. So instead of an individual, we take a team or a group of people, give them a set of complex tasks, and see how they cope with those. The better they cope with those tasks, the more intelligent they are. So, and this is exactly the definition of collective intelligence. So, how do you think, what is the connection or correlation between individual intelligence and collective intelligence? So let me ask two questions. So imagine a team. So those team members have some sort of average IQ, average intelligence, okay? So how do you think, what is the correlation between average intelligence of team members and collective intelligence of the team? Is it strong? Who is for strong? This correlation is strong. Few people, like 10%. Who thinks it is weak? Whoa, like 60, 70%. Who thinks it is non-existent? Well, remaining 5%. This doesn't sum up to 100%, does it? Okay, the second question, imagine, same team, imagine the brainiac, the smartest guy around, okay? So he is a very intelligent person. So how do you think, what is a correlation between the maximal individual intelligence in that team and collective intelligence of that team? Who thinks that this correlation is strong? A few people. Who thinks it is weak? Vast majority. Who thinks it is non-existent? Few people, more than in the first case. Okay. So our collective intelligence, as this big crowd here, what our collective intelligence tells us is that the connection between individual intelligence and collective intelligence, there is such correlation, but it is not very strong. Okay? Not true. Anita Woolley and her team, who did research around collective intelligence, found out that there is no connection between individual intelligence and collective intelligence of the team. There is no such connection whatsoever, or it is very, 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 very weak. So weak that it was inconclusive whether even such connection exists. And this is another finding of the same research, that collective intelligence trumps individual intelligence. So imagine two cases. One case is that we have a team that is collectively intelligent. So this is huge oversimplification, but as for now, let's assume that they just collaborate with each other well. Okay, so they are collectively intelligent. In this case, collective intelligence resulted, like the results achieved by the whole team were always better than the results achieved by the smartest guy, the smartest person in that team. Another scenario, teams that were not that collectively intelligent, so they were not collaborating that well. We would assume that they are not working that well. Well, they were at least on par, if not better, with the smartest guy, smartest person around. So collective intelligence always yielded same or better results than individual effort. And this is the precise quote from Anita Woolley. Collective intelligence was much more predictive in terms of guessing whether the group would succeed or not. It doesn't really matter how intelligent is the smartest person in a team. What matters is how smart is the team as a whole. And why am I talking like intelligence this, intelligence that, solving problems this, solving problems that? Because I do believe that building software is not purely about writing code. We don't get points for writing as many high-quality lines of code as possible. Well, if you are in this market, I have bad news for you. Your job is going to be soon outsourced to India. Sorry for bringing bad message. Don't shoot the messenger. it's not the quantity, it's not the quality, it's the value. Unless we deliver value to our clients, and the value to our clients is not counted in lines of code. It's counted in solved problems. So unless we deliver value, our jobs are not going to be here very, very soon. So this is why I'm focusing so much on solving problems. And since I've already told you that individual intelligence isn't an indicator of collective intelligence, what is? Social perceptiveness. Whoever said empathy when I was asking what you would like to see when you were looking for candidates, you were right. Social perceptiveness, paying attention to what is happening across the board, how other team members behave, how they feel, what do they need. The higher the empathy, the better the collective intelligence. Communication quality, and in this case, communication quality has a very specific meaning. It's not about expressing myself clearly so everyone understands me. It's about evenness of communication, having everyone involved in the communication process, asking that introvert sitting in the corner what is their opinion. So this communication here isn't even at all. We are not collectively intelligent as a group, because I'm crippling this communication, talking all the time. And finally, moderate diversity of cognitive styles. And this one requires some more explanation. So let's start with what cognitive styles we have. We have 3 of those: object visualizers, spatial visualizers, and verbalizers. And every person typically has one of those cognitive styles dominating the others. Some people have 2 of them dominating the third. And each of those cognitive styles makes us more inclined to do well in specific jobs. So object visualizers would tend to do better in visual arts, say painters. Spatial visualizers would tend to do better in engineering or analytics. Verbalizers would tend to do better in all sorts of humanities, being, say, writers, speakers, whatever. So my wild-ass guess is that in this very room, we have a huge overrepresentation of spatial visualizers. And it is true for our software development teams as well. Because we are focused on this engineering mindset. We are focused on this intelligence, this kind of approach, looking at people throughout the code they are going to write. Which means that we are crippling the collective intelligence of our teams. So these are 3 things that we should look for if we are going to make our teams collectively intelligent. So I have a question. How would you feel about working with women in your team? Or actually, it's a set of questions. So given all sorts of options, who would prefer? And I want to ask you, like, everyone raises your hand at least for in one case answering this question, okay? Given all the options, who would prefer to work in a purely male team? No women. Who would like to work in such a team? Few people. This was to be expected. Who would like to work in a team where there is a single woman? So all the men and one girl. Then 15%. Who would like to work with two of women? Okay, like 30%. Who would like to work in a team that is organized like 50-50? Half of male, half of males, half of females. Okay, almost all of you, by now, I guess. Who would like to work in a team that is strongly dominated by women? Say, all the women and one man. Less than 10. Okay, less than 10. I would be interested to hear your motivation for that. I think you might have guessed where it is heading. One of final conclusions on the research on collective intelligence is the more women in the team, the better. It's not about having a woman in a team. It's not about having half of them in a team. It's about getting as many of females as possible. And there's an asterisk here, and this asterisk is for purely female teams were doing slightly worse than teams with a single man. But only slightly. I'm happy to talk about the research in details during breaks. So please catch me during breaks. And the thing that I hear every single time when I show that, every single time, it's not about gender. It's about diversity. The more diverse teams, the better. Not true. Again, not true. Actually, I guess Anita Woolley's team heard exactly the same argument, so they checked that. They had two groups of teams. All of them were purely Americans, but one set of teams were made to believe that they are working with Arabs. So they were not culturally diverse. They thought that they were. Guess what? They didn't perform that well. They didn't even be diverse. They thought that they were. Okay, one more question for you. How do you think? What size of a team makes it the most effective one? Who is for a single one-man army, single person? Who thinks that one-man army is the most effective? Who thinks between 2 and 3, the micro teams? 2.6 is between 2 and 3, right? Okay, few people. Who is for small teams, 4 or 5 people? Who thinks those are most effective? Wow, 50% or more. Who thinks 6 to 8, the ideal Scrum size? Fewer people than for small teams. Who thinks that even bigger, 9 to 11? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people thinks that big teams are good. Who is for even bigger? Okay. One more thing on collective intelligence is that collective intelligence, collective intelligence goes up with the number of people on the team. More people, the better collective intelligence. And it flattens out around 11 people for such big teams. And something I hear that, like there is lots of hassle with communication, etc., collaboration, etc. So, we pay a tax for big teams. Well, this is another research, very different one. Larry McElroney did a research on more than 40,000 agile teams. He got the anonymized data from those teams, and he found that there is no difference in productivity or quality, of course normalized productivity, between teams of size 5 to 9 people, classic Scrum teams, and the teams that are one size bigger. It's normalized productivity, so per person, yeah. Which is that with bigger teams, we get the bonus for creativity, for complex solving problem skills, but we don't get hit on productivity or quality. So I think that in terms of building or growing teams, we got it all wrong. We are focusing on the wrong things. When we are thinking about hiring people, we are thinking about getting the best individual, which is totally wrong, because building software is a team sport. And it's been a team sport for 20 years or more already. So we shouldn't be looking the smartest guy available. We should be looking for someone who will improve the way the whole team works. And it's not someone who necessarily is the best coder or writes the high quality code or is the smartest person around. Because software development is about solving complex problems. And to solve complex problems, we need intelligence, but not individual intelligence, collective intelligence. So we shouldn't be, because collective intelligence beats the crap out of individual intelligence every single time. So we shouldn't be looking for this. We shouldn't be looking for technical skills. We shouldn't be looking for individual intelligence because it doesn't help. We should be looking for empathy. We should be looking for people who would improve the evenness of communication. We should be looking for people of different cognitive styles that we have in our team already. These are the traits we should be looking for. Totally different than what we typically are looking for today. And for those of you who slept for past 30 minutes, too long didn't read the version, we need more women in our teams, even if it comes at the cost of making our teams bigger. Actually, especially when it comes at the cost of making our teams bigger. And obviously one argument I hear by that time, every single time again, is that, well, do I advise people just to grab a random bunch of women and hire them? Well, no, not really. But actually, I strongly believe that there is some sort of good enough level of skills. And beyond that, so someone who will not be crippling, the basic work of our team. But beyond that, we should be looking for something different than we do today. And I hope this presentation was controversial enough for you that you will want to catch me during breaks or during evening to follow up on that and to discuss what we can do to change how we are building teams. Thank you.